Hello, everybody. How are you this Sunday? It is so good to see you. And you know, I learned a long time ago that those who refuse to learn about history are doomed to repeat it. So, you can try erasing history, you can try pretending, it's not going to work. And we've learned a lot, and I love learning. So, welcome everybody. It's so good to see you. Debbie's working on bindings. She hopes everyone is good. Whoops, let me wipe off my hi, Hopi. And our Marcia is here. It is so good to see you. So, just want to send a shout out to Ukraine. And I'm going to go ahead and put Gaza in there too, because I think they could use all the help they can get. All right, everybody. So, I got a little yard work done this week. I was so happy because, oh my goodness, I plant my pots up in this late spring. But otherwise, especially once, you know, summer gets here and it's really hot, I don't really go out and work a lot in the yard. It's just too hot for me. Oops, there we go. And I've got my shirt on today that I made using one of my iron-ons, and I just think it's so cute, and I wear it around the house because it makes me happy. So, but I got some, it was so funny. There was this big bush that I used to carve in a heart shape, and I haven't done it in a couple years. So I thought, oh, cut it down, let some new growth come out, and next, pardon me, next spring, I'll trim it back into the heart shape. Well, I got out there and I did a little bit of trimming, but my cute little string trimmer could not handle that. So, of course, Mark has to come bail me out. But I did get a couple other bushes and some weeds cut down with the string trimmer. I'm trying to show more of this t-shirt here. I was getting ready to do the show today, and I caught my glasses on something. And I wear these wonderful little dollar store beaded little eyeglass holders. And it got caught on something and beads went everywhere. It finally broke. It was my favorite eyeglass holder. So anyway, thank goodness I only paid $1 for it. But as typical Deb, I collected all the little beads that had fallen everywhere. I'm going to do something with those beads. So anyway, but we got Mark then gets, I meant to take a picture. He did this great job of trimming this bush, because I had been telling him, you got to leave a little artistic style when you do the trimming, you know, don't just try to make it a cube. And he did the best job on one of these bushes. I was like, yes, and it just goes perfectly with the leaves. So I'll have to take a picture to show you next week. But he cleaned up all the branches that I whacked, and he cut a whole lot more, and it looks so good. So then we're sitting there on Thursday, and I'm reading my online news, because I don't watch the news now. It's too upsetting for me. So I don't like chaos and strife and constant fighting and all of that. I really don't. So if I want to read something, I go to my favorite Washington Post, which I can read online. I have an online subscription. And I was reading that the CDC was going to meet yesterday, and they were going to be talking, and who knows what they were going to decide about the COVID vaccinations. And so it said seniors are well advised to go ahead and get their COVID vaccination before this next meeting, because if the government doesn't support it and say you have to get it, insurance companies don't have to pay for the shot. And we need those shots. Let me tell you, we need those shots. So, and I have no idea how much they would cost, but probably hundreds. And I just want to say, between 32,000 and 51,000 people still die of COVID each year. And even worse is that there are 250,000 hospitalizations from COVID. And you know, Mark and I are real proud that we have not gotten COVID. We have gotten 8 shots, but we have not gotten COVID. So there's a little bit of me that, you know, wants to keep that going. And also, I don't want to get sick with it, and I don't want to get long COVID. Hi, darling Cheryl. Gosh, it's so good. Marsha Hahn is here. Marsha Hahn, she has been so busy. She's been putting the best links on our site. I love it. So I'm going to, in fact, let me give you a link right now. Let's please still work for me. Well, I'm trying to, let me see. How do I paste? There it is. Okay. She gave us the link for a YouTube video of it was in California, the vendors show, quilt show. And so you will have to enjoy that. When I'm done with the show tonight, I'm going to sit and enjoy it. So I am very excited about seeing that. So thank you, Marsha. And in fact, she has a pumpkin pattern and all kinds of stuff. I just love this. You guys add so much to our group's IO. And in case people don't know, in fact, we have another member of our group's IO all the way from the west coast of Ireland. So I am so excited. Miss Getty is a new member with us. And there was also an Andrew that I'm trying to get on our site. And I'm not sure she's been able to get through to it. And then, you know, Linda Williams was a recent join member. But the good thing, our Groups IO is a free online chat group. Kind of took the place of Yahoo when that closed. And it's a wonderful site because you can have your own photo album. So put pictures of your family or your quilts or your yard or whatever makes you happy. And then we can chat with each other. We have a big file system, and every pattern that I draw for y'all that for free goes on there. So we have years of free patterns. So... oh, you really enjoyed that. You like my shirt? Thank you. This was, it had a saying on it that wasn't my favorite, so I just whacked that off and just used the picture. But it does make me happy. I love that stuff now. You know, it's kitschy, but you know what? So am I. So, but anyway, back to the CDC warning. So I said, Mark, I've got to tell you something. Because we've been talking about getting our shots. We haven't had a COVID shot since July of last year. And I said, no, we need to get in there. And plus, we want to do our flu shots. We really don't want to get either of those illnesses. And the older you get, the more you protect your health. Because when we do get sick, it's really tough on us. So I said, I was telling him, and he goes, uh-oh. We need to get those shots. And I said, yes. So I did some further digging and found out that some of these states are saying, no, you have to have a prescription first, which means you first have to go to a doctor, then to get the COVID. It's just like, I hate all these roadblocks being put in the way of us doing what we want. And you know, it's so funny for a group that said small government. Now government's in all my business, and I'm not happy with it. But anyway, we read that our wonderful Democrat governor, Josh Stein, said, nope, no prescriptions needed. Yes. So he just did that September 12th. I'm so happy I voted for him. So I real quick went online and found Walgreens could get us an appointment. And 3 hours later, we're in getting our shots. And so we got the COVID and the flu. And these, we should not get any bill from it. It should be covered under our insurance and whatever. So I was real happy. Both of us got our shots. Then the next morning I woke up and I felt miserable. Every joint in my body hurt. And I usually fly through these shots, but I just took it easy. So I've had, yesterday, Friday and Saturday, I just took it easy. In fact, the neighborhood had a big cookout right across the street, because across the street's the pond, the little lake, and there's a grassy area. And I was like, sorry, I'm not going to be able to come to that because I just needed to take it easy. That's it. That is actually, you're so right, Debbie. So anyway, we got it, and now I'm feeling fine today. And so thank goodness I'm now protected. I've got a retreat coming up in November. Mark's got it sometime in October. He's going to the beach. So I feel like now we can visit with family coming up for the holidays, and we're protected. And it's worked so far, so I stick to it. So just the CDC evidently came out and kind of said, well, they're not going to make any recommendations. It's up to each person. So far, the major group of insurers are saying they're going to cover the cost. But you know what I would do if I were you? I would go ahead and make your appointment, get the shot, and know you've got it. You will have to check with your state to see if you have to have a prescription or not. I have a feeling if you've got a good doctor and you've been to see her in the last year, they'll phone in a prescription for you. So, because Mark's not going to the doctor until October, and I'm going in November. So anyway, enough of that. So, hi. Oh, Mitty, how good to see you. Yay. Okay. So, got my shot. It's all better. Everything's good. Mark did really well with his. Sometimes he's felt achier than I did. But a little ache for a day, so much better than the real thing. Trust me. All right. Behind me, I have the snail's trail Alfredo that I quilted last week, and I was hoping I'll show you that a little bit closer, because last week I looked at the show and went, oh, that was way too far away. It was a mess trying to show you. But I did want to tell you that yesterday was the day, or Friday, I was going to make a new polymer clay object, because I'm loving Jessima tutorials on YouTube. Sweetest gal. I mean, she's such a good teacher. I can follow her totally. And she's really helped me, because I've always wanted to do polymer clay, and I've had polymer clay for 20 some years, but I just never seem to get the hang of it. She makes it so easy. So, but anyway, I'll pull up let me pull up this. Here is my Snail's Trail Alfresco. I still need to make the binding for it. And here, I want to just show you a little bit of the quilting, because I didn't seem to be able to do such a good job of showing you that last week. Let me bring the camera a little more forward. But let's see if you can see. I did waves on the outside with now, come on, camera. There they are. See my waves? I thought that was pretty simple, because it is based on a storm at sea. And I just did the curved line on the diamonds, and did a corner curve with the loop there. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. What I did for the actual snail's trail. Now let me get it. It is so hard to see any pattern on black fabric. But let's see if I can show you that. Come on. Whoops. It doesn't want to pick it up. But let's see. I hope you'll be able to see a little bit of it. Let me see something. Let me try one thing really quickly. Let me go to my close-up detail camera. And, okay. Now let's see if I turn on that light. Let's see what we've got. Ah, there it is. So what I did, in fact, here's this one. What I did on this, I saw someone. I had to do research to figure out how am I going to quilt this. And so you just, whoops, in fact here, whoops, this one does. I just started in this corner and did the little arched lines around, and it kind of reminded me of a certain type of sheep's horn. So, but there it is. I think I've shown you everything on all of the triangles, on the colored triangle. I didn't do anything for these two squares. I thought I best leave those alone. But I did the loops. I did the corner loops here. And oh, on this part, I don't know if you can see it good. Maybe you can see it better on this gold. Yes, I just did little feathers there. So that is the quilting for this quilt. This, and soon as I have the binding, this class is in the history books. So, and here is one of my squares where I just did the little curved line here and the little loops in the triangles. So very, very simple. I don't think you can see a whole lot from the back, but let me see if I can see one of those snail trails. Yeah, here is the snail's trail with just the little stacked curved lines. All right, so now I feel better about that because I did such a terrible job of showing y'all that last week. All right, let me come back to the main camera. Can't wait to show you our main focus this week. All right, let's see. All right, so the next topic is going to be our main focus quilt. And you know, the landscape quilts are by far the favorite quilts that everyone wants to see and participate in. And in fact, that's how we got our wonderful Miss Getty from Ireland. So let me get my computer, get it all straightened out here. So what I'm going to do right now is go right in to the progress I've made on our quilt, telling you a little bit about it. It was made by Reid. The original inspiration is I got permission from Reid of Tennessee to do a direct copy of one of his artworks, and it's the Smoky Mountain stained glass look, and he puts these images on tiles. And so let me see. Let me type in, and then I will, whoops, that one I don't think is working today. I've got two mice plugged in, and I'm trying to figure out which one to use. All right. His site is on Etsy, and it's WenderAspire. And it is, let me get my glasses on and I will type some of this address for you. It will be www.etsy.com/ /listing /169 265 1440 / Smoky Mountains. Whoops. Smoky hyphen mountains hyphen stained hyphen glass hyphen look hyphen art question mark. I'm hoping just that much of the title will work for you, but I'm so happy that when I wrote him and told him what I wanted to do, and I said, normally if I see an inspiration, I make it my own and I make a bunch of changes, but your work was so beautiful. I loved it just as it was. He said, go for it. Good for you. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's rendered in fabric. So anyone who makes this from it, I've got free pattern that I drew up from it. And anyone who would like to, pardon me a second, anyone who would like to have the free pattern, just let me know. And in fact, I'll give you my email address is ourtimetoquilt at gmail. Whoops. It helps if I have my glasses. Age 40 was a long time ago. And that's usually about the time you need to start wearing reading glasses. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move back from this. Well, first, I want to show you the image of the quilt. And so let me go to bring up. I will show you the image and then I'll show you what I've done so far. All right, I'll bring this over here. Whoops. Hold on, where'd it go? All right, let me try. I forgot to take my medicine for my tremor, so I'm a little bit shaky today. All right, now, here we go. So this is the original artwork that I saw. Probably, hi, Melanie is here. I probably saw this on a Pinterest, like an ad or something, and I fell in love with it. So this is Reid's work, and now that you've seen that, I will scoot back and show you what I've done so far. Okay, here it is. Now up top are just the little freezer paper stencils. But here is what I have done so far on it. I want to be able to see if I've got it close. Let me see if I can move in a little closer. Let me turn the light around here. Okay, so here we go. So here it is. It's well in progress. Okay. Oh, no. Nope, don't worry one bit. There's no being late here. There's absolutely, it doesn't matter. We just love seeing everyone's smiling face every week. So, but now I'm going to move to the main close-up camera. But hopefully you can see detail close-up camera. Here we go. All right. So now, yeah, get a lot of light in over here. All right. Here we are. Let me get this up. I want to get it just in the right place. Okay. So here is what I've done. I started at the bottom, and then I was very anxious to keep working on that tree. I got so excited. Oh, thank you, Miss Lisa. Hello, Miss Lisa. So here it is. Now, I do want to tell you, and I also had a printed, now pardon the water spots. When any water gets on inkjet, it creates a mess. But I go by firstly, I try to look at the inspiration photo. I enlarge it and to look at that, but then I keep this handy too. And here is the pattern I made for you. And for the most part, I'm being really good following it. Some of the pieces got a little bit muddled in this range, but I managed to do, here's the one tree. Let me show you. Let me get this one. But having this handy, this is so important to have. And this is what I use to make all my pattern pieces. I made 2 copies. One I taped together to show the full thing. Then the other one I cut all the pattern pieces out. And I printed it on freezer paper. So I made copies on freezer paper. Now how you do that is you take a regular piece of printer paper and you iron a piece of freezer paper. Cut it out the size of a piece of printer paper. You cut out the freezer paper and you iron it lightly, shiny side touching the paper. Okay, shiny side down. That's where the wax is that holds it on. Then you run it through the printer. Then you take and peel it carefully off the printer paper, and then you can take and cut out the different shapes. And I will show you my process in just a moment. But this really, really helps reminding me to stick with flowers and certain designs. But I was noticing some of these are a little too stark, and they don't have enough of the mottled look to show that these are evergreens. Here are 2 fall trees. It still falls a little flat. Don't worry, because I still have thread sketching to do on this. I still have ink tints to work on. So this is just mapping out the basic color blocks. None of the fine tuning has been done yet. Okay, what I did is went through all of my stash and wanted to really carefully get fabric that was as close to what I wanted for the final project as I could get. And so I'll just show you. And I wanted to get as many different fabrics. I didn't want to just... One thing I loved, in fact, let me show you one more time. I'm going to go back to the desktop. Let me go back to the desktop here. And this, well, I wish you could even see it better, but it's very vibrant, very vibrant. And I wanted to focus on that vibrance. So I'm doing everything I can to bring that to this artwork. Now, what I'm doing for the most part is I'm tucking fabric under, and the top I am folding it, tucking. I'm tucking under all the edges because I don't want any raw edges. Now I do have some raw edges. I do have a raw edge right here. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to put a little bit of fray check on it just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. But if you look, these have all been tucked under. So when I put a piece of fabric, I leave the top raw. That's why I worked from the bottom and worked up, because I leave this fine, but here I tuck it under. You see that? It's tucked under. Now, the only problem with that is when that tucks under, it uses the fusible that should iron it into place. Hold on. I'm doing something you're not supposed to do. I'm using my teeth to open the glue bottle. So don't do that at home. But then I just come along with tacky glue, a good glue if possible, because I want it to hold quickly and well. And you just glue that down, okay? I'm using heat and bond, so I don't have problems doing the final stitching. Well, before actually I do any of my thread painting or sketching, when this is all done and I'm happy with the color blocking, I'm going to come in with invisible thread and do a careful zigzag around all the separate pieces of fabric. And oh, another thing I did over here, which I like doing because I love playing with stuff and manipulating fabric to become even more. And what I did with this tree, sometimes glue gets on the outer side of the fabric a little, but I took and cut, when I cut this pattern out, and see, this has all been tucked under. So every piece I put on here, I cut 1/4 of an inch all the way around it extra. But this, what I did is I put this inside the base of this tree, so that when I end up stitching the edges down with invisible thread, there'll be it's a little bit raised. I don't know if you can see that. But then I haven't finished this area because I wanted to get the tree in, then I'll come back and put more leaves across the trunk and the branches. Up here, I took all my pieces for this page, because I did it in 4 separate pages. So this page is page number 1. I just lightly ironed down so I wouldn't lose them, all the freezer paper pieces for up here. Okay? But as I work on them, of course I peel them up and put in the real fabric. But this is going to benefit by some thread sketching. It's going to benefit by some shading with ink tints. And this is a pale pink, so I think I'm definitely going to have to do some sketching on that, or else it looks like a hole in the tree. But it's just a matter of layering different things. Oh, here's the top part of the tree. I can go ahead and glue this little edge down, but it's where I tucked it under. It used up that bit of fusible. So, but I don't mind that a bit, because then as I'm working up, I can always go back and I can tuck things in here and there, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just noticing now that I am getting the line of mountains. I'm getting the feeling of the different mountains. Now, I thought, let me just show you actually doing a piece of this. So hopefully I'll show you. A couple months ago, I bought 5 yards of heat and bond. This is all I have left. So there's going to be a quick order put in tonight for more heat and bond, because I really like it. So, and you see, heat and bond. All right, so let me pick out a piece. This says 2021. Let me see. Okay, 20 and 21. This was a periwinkle darker blue. Oh, I don't think I brought up a periwinkle. I was still thinking, okay, let me check something else, because I'm just looking that these pieces are going to be a periwinkle purple blue. So that's upstairs, but let me see. Hold on. I could possibly do, okay, let me check what this is. I grabbed the wrong fabric, but I just wanted to show you. All right, so I could come over here and do, let me see if I have piece 19. Let me see. But I keep all, this is page number 2. Aha, here we go. piece 19. I keep all my freezer paper slips that, and I'm going to show you why I do I will show you why I do both the freezer paper and the heat and bond. And I am a very visual person, so I really need to be able to see exactly what I'm doing. Alright, and this is supposed to be, ooh, I might go with this. No, the lines are running the wrong way. Ooh, here we go. Here we go. This one might work really well. I love this fabric. I have a feeling this came from Miss Lisa. And but this would be perfect here. Alright, so let me double check. And I wrote on here medium light blue, but I have been doing an area of a little light turquoise. So I'm going to do at least part of this in the turquoise. Let me see. Well, maybe I could do it down here. Yeah, I might do it down. I might do here. Because this, if you can see, this is starting to have a little bit of a purplish look to it. Let me see. I'm going to turn this over. Okay. This is starting to have a little bit of a purplish look. This still has a little bit of teal, so I'm going to put the pattern piece on like this. And I move it back so that I can get 1/4 of an inch all the way around it. Okay? Now let me get my iron. Okay. Now, this doesn't have the heat and bond on it. So what I'm going to do, because I absolutely love heat and bond now, I'm a huge fan, I'm going to cut this piece in half lengthways. Okay, and I'm going to put this piece up here. So I'm going to have to take steam-a-seam with me, and you know what? The problem is the steam-a-seam will make it sticky. But okay, so I've covered the piece pretty good, I do believe. Whoops, I'm going to add a little. Let me hold on a second. I want to make sure I've got it just where I need it. Okay. Alright, so now what I do normally is I have the fusible on the fabric. So I have the fabrics I think I'm going to use. I iron fusible on the back of them. And so I would already have this. I would already have this on the back. Then when I find the fabric, I iron the freezer paper on the front. Okay? And that helps keep me from having to work backwards and upside down. You know, if you are using freezer paper or let's say you're using the fusible as your pattern, you've got to do it backwards, because you would do that on the bottom of the fabric, and that is a little tricky for me to try to work backwards like that. I don't want to waste all this fabric. These bits that I've cut loose from the larger pieces, I will be putting in a big storage bag for future projects, because I've been doing that all summer with the projects I've been doing. Alright, so now we have the heat and bond is on the back, and on the front is the freezer paper. What I do now is I come in every curve I give a nip, whether it's outward curve or inward, because it makes it much easier to do that. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do the bottom edge. The top edge I don't have to do. So this will be much easier because for the most part this is kind of straight. But then as I come up on the curves, do lots of little nips in the seam allowance. Okay, and then when you get to sharp points, just kind of blunt that sharp edge. Okay, so now I'm going to peel off, and you know what, I don't need this much here. I'm going to nip a little bit of this off, because you don't want to have to tuck under too much. It is not necessary. Alright, now I'm going to peel the heat and bond paper off. See the shininess on the fabric? That's my fusible. And this part can be a little tricky. I just want to warn you. Okay, let me get my camera in here. And as I said, I'm going to tuck under the bottom part so that it can fit right here. Okay, I'm tucking under. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tuck under up here, because then when I put these in, it'll be ready. But I'm gonna leave the top with the overhang, and I'll show you why. Alright, so here is my iron, and I'm just going to come and carefully. Now, if you have any kind of little sharp tool, you might want to use it. I've got to be honest, I like using my hands, even though there are times I burn them, but I like to be able to feel it. Be careful when you're ironing. If you venture up onto the heat and bond, then the sticky will be on your iron, not on your fabric. So I try just to barely skim that little folded part very carefully. And you got to be careful, because what you're focusing on, where you're going, don't let the iron flip up onto the main part. Just iron the tucked under part. I've been listening to a lot of audio books. I'm listening to Ellen Hildebrand. She's E-L-I-N, Hildebrand books that have been on YouTube, and YouTube audiobook. Well, it's I guess a specific channel, and I have been enjoying it. Okay, so I'm not trying to make it look perfect. I'm just trying to get it mostly turned up. Let me nip off this little part that's sticking out. But it's mostly tucked under. See how this is? And I leave, let me nip this. Sometimes when you go to do a turn, it doesn't want to turn smoothly. And sometimes I'll nip it off, even if it's going to mean leaving a slight raw edge. Alright, so now I'm putting this in here. This is going to go here. Okay. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to check and see where I'm meeting the other pieces, because this one, sometimes the pieces that get near the other page are a little harder to figure out where you want things to stop. So I'm going to do a little bit more of this, but be careful when you cut, because you don't want to cut, you don't want to leave anything with the muslin showing. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is lift. Whoops, I'm out of range. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to lift up here and tuck this under. Alright, But that's the whole thing, is to have every area covered. And you can have one side that you tuck under. Now this is too much to tuck under that, so I'm going to nip it off. And here we go. And since I pulled that up, let me put a little bit of glue right under that lip. So now it'll hold. Get this just where I want it before I iron it. Get it just where I want it. Okay. Then I want to bring the iron back over. Bring the iron back over and iron it down. Okay. Okay. So, oops, it's still warm. Boy. In fact, do you see what I did? I was in there, I was so busy working, and I went to reach around my iron, and I caught my arm. So please be careful with your iron. That was just for a split second, and that's all it took. Okay. Looks like this fusible didn't hold good enough. Now, where this is already, this is the final part right here. There's no other pieces to add underneath this little section. I'll go ahead and just glue it down. But here, I'm going to tuck in another piece. So what I want to do is, I am just going to put it down the main, because this heat and bond somehow didn't work good enough. And I think I've messed with it too much. So I'm just going to tuck stuff. There we go. And this part is glued down, but look, see this part? Now I can lift this up to tuck in piece 20 and 21. So there we go. All right, I like it. I think it's working. And I'll start now. I want to show you, I started with a good solid blue, okay? In the dark colors, I just followed the inspiration photo, and you saw the dark colors. There's lots of little bits of, because I cut in piece, right? You know, as I'm going, I'm cutting. All right, so I started with a good solid blue. Then I went into the lighter tones because you really want to define the mountain range with all of the different striations. Then it kind of went into a little bit of a turquoise look here. So, and then now, right here and right here, it's going to go into a slight more purplish looking, like periwinkle blue. So I'm going to make sure I do that. Then here it starts with the very lightest color, and then this 13 piece starts the yellow for the sky. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of idea of how to do the progress. This piece 18 that's going to go here, I will take that piece and I will fold it under so it tucks in this raw edge. For whatever, you can do it all raw edge. Really, there's no right or wrong. It's just what I wanted to do this time. I said, you know what? I don't want raw edges. I want it all tucked in. Which means it's a little thicker because you've got thicker fabric kind of all placed down. But here it is at this stage, and then just know that as it goes up, everything changes slightly, but this is just the color blocking phase. And next we will do the embellishing, the really bringing it out. And you know what I might even do is I like using invisible thread to lock everything down. Never trust a fusible to stick for longer than it takes you to get the pieces in place. Come back and use an invisible monopoly. And if you've ever tried before and you thought, oh, I hate those, they were probably nylon. The best is to use a polyester brand. And but now we just added this piece in here, and I like all the movement of all the different colors and striations. And so I will probably have this done in 2 days and ready then to start stitching it down and then doing thread sketching. And the last thing I do will be the ink tints or colored pencils if you don't have ink tints, because ink tints is expensive, I do know. But I'm probably going to do thread sketching on my frame. So I'm not sure. It's small enough that I might try my best, but I'm not. Uh-oh, you're hearing an echo of me. That's not good. I am so sorry. I wonder what that's about. So, I apologize for that, though. So anyway, here it is. I love the bright colors. I really worked on getting, and I had to do different ranges. My greens go from the darkest to, all iterations. I got some batik greens. I got some mottled. I just really went in and pulled a lot out of my stash. So I think it's going to look good. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. I may even be taking some of these. This is the Micron permanent pins. I like using these better than Sharpie because Sharpies tend to bleed up into the fabric. But I might even use some of these to do some little outlining, because I find that really helped, make all the different colors and shapes pop. So I may be using some of this too. All right, because ink tints to me, it's good for shading. Like I'll get it in here and shade some of these different colors. I may even get in and emphasize little lines in the mountain. But the main thing to me is when you're going to do some outline stitching, instead of doing an outline stitch, I would rather do it with a Micron pen, and it just makes it pop. Let me see, was there something else I was thinking? Oh, the tree. In the original, he has it look like stained glass. I just wanted the natural tree. And I had a really good Jenny Buyer fabric to use that gave enough different modeling. Then when I go in and do thread sketching, I will kind of work more to bring out the bark and to make some dark shadows here and some light over here. I've got to decide where is my light source coming from. That's easy. It's coming from this way. So I will know where to put the highlights and where to put the shadows. When you do that, this will definitely pop out as a three-dimensional piece. All right, so I hope you like the progress so far. Now, while I've got this camera here, let me see. I thought I would show you in the evenings, especially when I wasn't feeling that good, I went back to work on, this is the border, the cherry tree border that's going to go on my sparrow quilt. I've already done one piece. This is all of the borders, 4 borders. They all have their stems sewed down and their leaves sewn down or appliqued down. And I'm always real proud that you're real hard to press to see my stitches, even though there they are on the back. But I use silk thread, and I really, in fact, here is my needle and some burgundy silk thread that I've been sewing the cherries on with. And if you'll notice, see the little bits of stuffing? This is little scraps of polyester stuffing that I keep, scraps from quilts I've done, and then I just stuff my cherries. Then, after I do that, I come in with a green embroidery floss and come in and add my stems. So I just think this is going to be a really pretty border on that sparrow quilt. So I want to get this finished. I have got a retreat coming up in November, and I'm going to want all the things I've worked on since March, or even a little bit earlier. I want them all done so I can take and show off a little bit. Because you know what? It's kind of fun to show off. So just wanted to show you I worked on that too. Okay. Alright. So this thing is going to come in so handy to help you figure out. One thing you might notice is page 1, I did piece 1 through piece, I think it was 50, 57, I don't know, something like that. It was a pretty 53, 54, something like that. Then when I did page 2, I started from 1 again, and this went through, I think, number 21. So this really helps you, and since each page is very different than the other page, it shouldn't confuse you too much. So that is your roadmap. Keep a good quality copy of the inspiration, and if you possibly can, have that inspiration on your laptop while you're working on this. And I think you will be much happier, because there's a lot, and it takes a while. Please understand, it takes a while, because you're constantly having to check your inspiration photo on the laptop, check the pattern, where is this piece and where does it go, and all of that. So it takes a while. I have spent probably 25 hours on this week alone. So a good amount of time. Alrighty. So now let me move things around and come back to you guys. Whoops, don't use that one. Alright, here we go. But it's kind of addictive. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the mosaic quilt that we did not long ago. And so, you know, I really like that. So I found myself, even when I wasn't feeling good, it's like, I gotta go work on it a little bit. And but then you can easily get overwhelmed. And just, you know, me holding this big head upright. So, and what I'm going to do next is we're going to do show and tell. Then after show and tell, and I do need more photos, so you guys out there, if you've been working on something, definitely show me. If you have your very favorite of all quilt or something like that you want to show me, please do. Oh, good. So, oh, you can hear the fan. Yes. In fact, you know what? I can turn it down a little bit. Have you ever noticed, the older I get, the more a fan, you can hear the wah, wah, wah. I forgot, Mark knows what that's called. We have a neighbor who has one of those professional tight radius riding lawnmower. That thing, in through the house, wah, 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 you can hear, and he's over 100 feet down that way. You can hear it. So we're all like, maybe his lawnmower break and he has to get another one. So anyway, but after we do show and tell, I want to let you know why an Ethan Allen catalog makes my heart go pitty-pat. So, come back for that. Alrighty, and while I've got Meltem's photos from last time, so I will be showing you these. Any questions? Any questions? If you have any questions, let me know. But be meticulous, just like you did with your mosaic quilt. Be meticulous. Each page had its own Ziploc bag. Just take your time and be meticulous. The thing that frustrated me the most was trying to tuck under that little edge of the piece and iron it without letting the iron hit the fusible. I hit the fusible a number of times, so I will have to get my iron off cleaner when I'm done. But anyway, okay, let's go to show and tell now. All right, here we go. Whoops, no, I didn't mean to move that. Come back up. Okay. I accidentally moved things around. And if I move things around too much, then, I'm in trouble then. Okay, now I'm going to go back, go to show and tell. And very first, I want to show you something that I just love. My daughter sent me this picture and said, I got a new t-shirt, Mom. Now, remember, my daughter's a science teacher, and I love this. I love this shirt. So, isn't that good? It's hard to believe now that so many people are going to stop vaccinating their babies. And the sad truth is, babies are going to die if they're not vaccinated. Do you know we've been vaccinating people since the 1700s? Yes, smallpox was one of the very first vaccines, and they noticed that milkmaids weren't getting smallpox because when they milked the cows, they got little touches of cowpox, and the cowpox was close enough to smallpox that it gave them immunity. So then they learned, and so they made a vaccine that they would take a little jab under the skin to save people from the ravages of smallpox. So vaccines have been around for hundreds of years. Don't let anybody fool you. Science is our friend. So here we go, Miss Alberta. We've got a table runner. I love this table runner. She said she might have learned this through a Missouri Star quilt, so we'll have to look for this, because I would love to know, how did they finish these edges so cleanly and nicely? So I think that is a really, really nice table runner. Perfect for the fall season. All right, and then I love this. Miss Alberta is amazing, and I love how she has placemats and table runners for every season. Isn't this wonderful? Oh, okay. Just remember now, it's ourtimetoquilt at gmail.com, because I got a new internet service, and for the first time in 20 years, I had to change my email, but everything just has gmail.com on the end. But, okay, so thank you, Miss Alberta, for sending this to us. Love, love, love it. Okay, so now let's see who is next. And Miss Bonnie. Miss Bonnie's at her SCA meeting today. I hope you're having fun, Miss Bonnie. And, but look at her beautiful block that she did. And Miss Bonnie is very talented. My words are sneaking away from me today. Appliqueist. very talented appliqueist. Exactly. And let me tell you, let me come back to this. I want to tell you something. There was a lovely woman. Every time we would do a sewing quilt field trip, I would see her and I would go out of my way to talk to her. And so one day I just said, can I ask you why you're in a wheelchair? And she said, I'd love to tell you. She said, I was a baby I was 6 months old, went into the hospital for like a bad cold. They wanted to check her. Unbeknownst to anyone, there was another child on the ward who had polio, who hadn't been diagnosed yet. It gave her polio, and then she spent the rest of her life in a wheelchair. We are that close to going back to people being crippled for life, spending a life in an iron lung because their lungs, their diaphragm doesn't work, they can no longer breathe on their own. We just don't realize how many things. I know when I was little and I had to have that smallpox vaccination, and back when we had to do it, we got a shot in the arm that it must have had multiple needles, and you got a really nasty scab, and then you were left with a lifetime scar. But that compared to smallpox, I'll take it any time. So I just wanted, we're very lucky. And I think that's what happens. We are now able to treat so many diseases, and we have such good medications, and people get lazy and sloppy. And they're like, well, I haven't, they don't remember the babies that were born deaf or blind because the mother got measles. They don't remember. And we now know, because we were allowed to get chicken pox, they didn't have the vaccine back then. I've had shingles, and it started on this eye and went up into my scalp. Luckily, it didn't get in the eye itself. I had to go to an ophthalmologist because it could have caused blindness. So they don't even yet understand the complications from having childhood chicken pox. So that virus stays in your body the rest of your life. So I had my shingles shot as soon after I had the shingles as I could. So in fact, I've had 2 of them. All right, but thank you, Debbie, for mentioning that, because it's sad that so many people have no clue. And the doctor in England who spread the lie about vaccines, he knew he was lying, spread the lie about vaccines causing autism. You know what? I don't know if there is enough of a hell for people like that, because the damage has been. So many people have died from getting these diseases in older age from the young kids. Some of the young kids have died. So please, 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 please. I know it's the non-medical people. It's not the medical people. And we've had some real heroes, people who said, I am not going to change the scientific data for you. And they've been fired. And so, great. Now who's in charge, Anyway, I don't want to get into that because this is supposed to be our happy place, but please, vaccines are such a good thing, and they truly saved our life. Benjamin Franklin, one of his sons, he didn't get around to getting him the smallpox vaccination. He was really busy. His son, oh no, you had to get the shot again. Oh, that's right, we weren't supposed to touch it, were we? Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry you had to get it twice. But one of Benjamin Franklin's sons, he said he blamed himself for the rest of his life. He was busy. He didn't get him the vaccination. The son got smallpox and died. That's a lot to live with for the rest of your life. And I had a wonderful, wonderful junior bridesmaid in my first wedding who was born deaf because her mother got measles. So, just remember, people. Okay, now, let's go back to show and tell. Thank you. I get off on a subject, but, science has saved my life numerous times. And a lot of us could talk about how many times our lives were saved by excellent medical care. All right, here we go back. This is Bonnie's beautiful applique work. Okay, and then we're going to go to Debbie, and Debbie's, I can't wait to see. I know she's probably busy on a couple other things, but I can't wait to see this finished. It's lovely, just lovely, Debbie. And she says she's thinking about another one with a darker background. Backgrounds are so much fun. When I first learned to quilt, everything was done on muslin, and, you didn't think, I never thought about using a black background or a dark background. And it's so funny because my hero, Jenny Beyer, she learned to quilt in India when her husband was over there working, because they spent a lot of their time overseas. And she started schools for the blind and the deaf. I mean, she's amazing. But she learned to quilt in India. Well, when she went out in India to buy the fabric on the street stalls, it was all deep, rich, dark colors. And so if you look at her early quilts, they were all very dark blues, which were indigos probably, dark reds. And so I credit her with helping to enlarge my scope of what quilting could be. This is Miss Hopi's mosaic quilt, and I love it. Boy, is she doing a good job on that. I can't wait next year to do another one. I know I say that every time, but when I see this, I get excited. It's like, oh, yay. And this is Miss Hopi's. These are her beautiful colors for her July Snail's Trail quilt. So, can't wait to see that. But right now, no pressure, Miss Hopi. Miss Hopi's getting ready for her October big art sale. And Miss Hopi, is quite the artist. She makes the most wonderful totes and bags. And I think it's hopistotes.com. Miss Hope. Oh, there's our beautiful Joe Sews. Boy, perfect timing. And Hopi, if you can put your website up, because your bags would make wonderful Christmas gifts. So you've got to go to her website and see the beautiful work she does. Speaking of beautiful work, our beautiful Joe Sews, look at this wonderful attic window quilt she made. And now this corner right here, which used to be a two-part inside corner tricky thing, you can now make with this right here, the black and white, can now be made as a half square triangle, and it sure makes this process much easier. So keep in mind that if you've ever thought, an attic window's too hard, remember hopibags.com. Thank you, Miss Jo. I love our Marcia and Florum and our Miss Jo moderators. They're the best. Look at this gorgeous three-dimensional looking quilt. I love this. And this is the tumbling blocks, but would you say tumbling blocks in a corner? So how about that? Yep, so Miss Jo put up the Hopi Bags link. Consider, the Christmas presents are going to be tricky this year, but consider, I would probably order early. And who knows what's going on with this whole tariff, shipping, whatever. So, but order early. So this is beautiful. I love how three-dimensional that looks, Miss Jo. You did a great job picking colors. because it only shows the three-dimensionality if you have three distinct values of fabric. So that is wonderful. Then our Miss Linda Williams, who was taking a bus trip to go, oh, I forgot where she was going to now, but I think it's a quilt related thing. I'm not sure, but Miss Linda Williams stays busy. I love this. I absolutely love these kind of quilts. If you can cut and paste, you can make a wonderful landscape. So that is wonderful. Collage quilting, it's called. And here is a wonderful quilt she made for, I'm not sure if it's a granddaughter or daughter, but I love her style. She's got a real eye for graphic quilting. So way to go, Miss Linda. So beautiful, beautiful job. I can't wait to see more of her work. And the good news is she only lives about 45 minutes from me. So at some point, we're going to meet up. So that's great. Thank you, Miss Linda. So please send me your photos because we love show and tell. And our Miss Mary, who is always busy. And here is her mosaic and her snail's trail Alfredo and her splash quilt. I love that she turned her splash quilt into a vase of flowers with two wonderful birds. I love her sense of humor just shines through her work, and I love that. Okay, and Marsha Hahn sent us a pattern to make pumpkins. One is for a petite pumpkin, cut 5. One is for a large pumpkin, cut 6. Thank you so much, Marsha Hahn. Thank you. Okay. We are so lucky. We have the nicest ladies in this group and the most talented. And here is our Melanie. And this is her husband Dan's quilt that he's been working on. He had big surgery in July. He's still recovering, but as any good quilter, he's right back to quilting. Love it, love it. This looks complicated to me. I can see what I think are little stickers telling you what is where and where to go, but he has done it beautifully. Goodness. And then look at this fishing quilt. Do you love that or what? I want to tell all those fish, watch out. Be careful, don't bite it. So that is so cute. I love that. And I'm wondering, how did he do the fish hooks? I guess with embroidery? I don't know. And here's little Miss Willow, who is now 3 years old. There she is. And here she is up sleeping by Dad while he's trying to figure out that latest quilt. And this quilt right here you see in the foreground is Miss Melanie's quilt. But Dan looks really good, and I hope everything keeps going well, and he's gaining strength every day. Okay, now let's see who's next. Aha! Well, just quickly, before I go to that, I just wanted to show you Miss Cheryl's quilt. And this is her Snail's Trail Alfresco. Here it is put together. I love her colors. Her colors are amazing. And there's our Miss Cheryl with her quilt at a local quilt show. That's wonderful. Quilt Week. Yes, I think her group had a, and that's the Barcelona Opera House gate. So that is awesome. Okay, so now we'll go back to Miss Melton. Miss Melton, I have loved learning about her Turkish culture. And so she's been sharing more and more photos with us and a little explanation for what things are. So let me bring Let me bring up the first photo. Whoops. This photo is from Karanlik Evliya. Anyway, he is the dark saint of Kastamonu. And it just means mysterious and spiritual figure. His real name is unknown, but local traditions explain that he lived a secluded life of worship and performed his prayers in hidden places. His tomb itself is dark and modest. So, this tomb is believed to date back to the 14th century. That's the 1300s for us. Built of cut stone in an octagonal plan with steep conical roof. One of the oldest shrines in Kastamonu. Inside, little light enters, creating a solemn and peaceful atmosphere for visitors. So this has been a site where people will take a pilgrimage to come pray, reflect, and seek blessings. So I think it's a historic landmark and a spiritual retreat. That's wonderful. Okay. And then I've got another photo of the inside. There it is. There's the inside of that tomb. And evidently people say there's a real feeling of peace when you go there. So that's really cool. I just love all different cultures. Here is the Asa water. And supposedly the Asa water is quite old. Next, it's believed to have the water miraculously appeared when the Sheikh Saban of Veli struck the ground with his staff. Many people drink from this to hope for healing and blessing. How about that? And so every faith has its pilgrimage points. This is that Sheikh Saban of Veli died in 1569, is one of the four great Sufi saints of Anatolia and the founder of the Sabanya order. So he also lived in Kastamonu, where his tomb and Dervish Lodge are located today. He taught humility, love for God, and service to people. So, and this, they said, in this around his tomb is, they feel a very special closeness and peaceful and spiritually uplifting. So, all right, so that's really cool. And I love this because I probably will never in my lifetime be able to travel to Turkey, but with her grace and generosity, we are learning something. I love that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here, and with our last few minutes, I'm going to show you why my heart goes pity-pat when I see, let me clean up my area over here, when I see a Ethan Allen catalog in the mail. I'll show you. Let me get a drink real quick. Okay. So let me see. We'll switch to the overhead camera and detail. All right. And let me bring up my guillotine cutter. Now, most of the time, I think I've told y'all before, most of the time I love cutting the paper out, paper for paper beads, by hand. I just find it very soothing, very relaxing. But there are times when it's a really good thing to cut your paper with a paper cutter. And this is just an inexpensive little thing that I probably paid $25 for. So, the reason I love Ethan Allen, the catalogs, I can't afford to buy anything from it, but the colors, it's so serene. It's just beautiful. And there's something on every page that I can use. In fact, usually I have to decide, okay, what page am I going to sacrifice so I can use the other? Now, don't do this with your good scissors, please. I used to have, let me see, I used to have a staple remover, but I don't know. Don't do this at home, as they say. But I'm trying to at least get these lifted up. So then, and don't use your good scissors because you can nick the blade. But I forgot to take out, and you definitely want to get every staple out of here because it will mess up the cutter pretty badly. Okay, now if I can get that under. I used to, when I was young, use my fingernails, but they're not tough enough anymore to handle this. Okay, there we go. Good job. Okay. One more, and then we're ready to go. Now, I just like to show y'all, I know we're a quilting show, but I love lots of different things. I am a person who would love to spend 24 hours a day doing all kinds of crafts and arts. It makes me very happy. So I do a little bit of everything. Alright, so now the pages come out. All of the metals out of the way. Alright, now this is what I love about this is this will make the long strips to do nice tapered beads or round beads. If you're going to do a round bead, then you would make it relatively narrow. Cut. Okay. This would make a more round bead. So you can see how it's very narrow there. Alright, but mostly I do tapered beads. So I make, and what I do, let me show you again. What I do is I take turns cutting, because you're cutting what in essence a long triangle. So since I did the other one this way, now I did this one this way, so I can use every inch of the fabric. Hush up, dogs. Okay. Hush, dogs. Alright. Hey, hush. I'm sorry. I don't know what they're barking at. I don't see anyone outside, but who knows. Okay, so I just go back and forth. So I cut one way, then I turn this and cut it the other way. So by the time you get to the end of the page, you've used all of it to the best advantage. Now I want to show you, I look at each side of the strip to see which way I want to make this. The problem with this strip, that's where the bead will end. That's a lot of white. I love them to have color at the end. So this time I'm going to go ahead and use the tacky glue because this paper has a wee bit of shine on it, and I find that school glue doesn't always stick right away to shiny paper. Alright, so what you do is you take the paper and slip it into the little slot, and I still have about 2 or 3 bead rollers that Mark and I made if anyone wants to buy one. And but you just roll it up, centering, keeping the paper centered. I'm going to bring you in a little closer so you can see, but just keeping it centered. And you go down quite a ways, and then somewhere between here and the end, just run a little bit of glue. Mostly I use school glue because I buy it by the gallon, but I take and usually run the glue down so it's kind of even, and you just keep rolling it slowly. And with the excess glue on your fingers, you just rub your finger on that, and there is your bead. And I love these because they really, now I've taken it off, keep it centered, and then all I have to do is put a finish on that. But let me try this one just to show you. This side is white. This side is a wonderful dappled green. So I take and put it with the white side up because I want the other side to show. I get it started and I just roll down. And so all the different colors, since this is tapered, all the different colors take turns showing. Okay, then I'm going to get a little touch of glue. You don't need much, please, just 2 drops is all you need. And if I had plenty of time, I could even use school glue on this too. But now look, see what the image that's on. I love tapered beads, and I use only tapered beads with this instead of the barrel beads because I love the different colors that come out. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? To me, that's very pretty. So, and then you have, they're all in the soothing tones, lovely tones, and they coordinate really well together. So I just thought I would show you. This is why I get so excited when the next Ethan Allen sale thing comes on. So now what I do when I finish this is I would come in with paper scissors and I would just make sure that the end of this is even and ready to go. Now with this paper I usually don't even have to dip it into paint because the end is pretty nice. But I just go like this to each end, laying the scissors like this on flat on the top. It helps me to make sure that edge is totally even. Then I would take and start putting a sealer on it. And I use the triple thick, but you could use water-based acrylic sealer, whatever you wish. And then I put about 2 to 3 coats on it. Once it's all finished, it's ready to be strung up and made into necklaces or scissor fobs or earrings or whatever, key ring holders. And I just think that's lovely. So that's why I get excited when the Ethan Allen mailer comes in. So I enjoy the pretty pictures and then I turn it into beads. So thank you, Ethan Allen, for giving me hours of fun. So there we go. Alrighty. Thanks for letting me show you about paper beads because I said I had planned to show you some more polymer clay, but I didn't get that done. So I said, I'll show them about my Ethan Allen catalog. And in fact, after we say goodbye, I'm going to sit here and finish cutting the pages. And then I can take them up, sit in my recliner, and relax, and roll the beads. There's our Linda Williams. Wow. Hi. I do love your style of quilting, Miss Linda. So she is one of our new members, and I'm not sure she's comfortable using. I'm trying to lock my guillotine blade over here so I don't cut myself, but I'm not sure she's comfortable yet using Groups.io, but I think in time she just might get there. All right. Oh, your granddaughter just came. You're going to hem her homecoming dress. Oh, that's wonderful, Melanie. Well, I tell you, thank you so much for spending another day with me. And I'm always on the lookout for something interesting that you might see and like. And take good care of yourselves. Please consider getting your COVID and your flu vaccination. And trust me, the you that you would save from getting ill would really thank me for kind of pushing you just a little bit to get your vaccination. Take good care of yourself. And oh, I'm sure you will. Miss Linda's a sharp lady, and oh my gosh, her family. Talk about a family. They are amazing and smart, and whew, I tell you the truth. But to have a good week, do something special just for you. And think of something you haven't done in a while lately you'd really love to do, and then go and grab for it. Do it. So take good care of yourself. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. All right. Take good care. Let me get my mouse. My mouse is running away. Come back.